So in part 2 of my series on money mindset, today we're going to talk about building money confidence and self-worth. And this is true regardless of where you are financially. It's all about your attitude towards your money. So according to a recent study, did you know that only 19% of women feel confident making financial decisions? I know, that's a pretty low percentage, isn't it? Well, think about that in your own life for a moment. Do you feel confident in making financial decisions? Honestly, I don't think anyone really does. There are too many variables out there, and too many of us are subject to FOMO, right? Fear of missing out or thinking that we're doing something wrong. But if you back up a little bit from the money mindset and think about other variables that you face in just your everyday life, you probably aren't deterred by making decisions like walking across the street. All kinds of things could happen. They usually don't, but they could. So why do we lack confidence around money more than many other factors in our daily lives, like crossing the street? Now, you guessed it, money mindset. It's its own little animal. Think about when you were preparing to cross the street, you probably have some familiar tools and methods to rely upon, which help you to feel fairly safe and confident making that decision of when to cross the street. Look both ways. Watch the traffic light. Remember how when you were small, your parents probably told you to hold hands while crossing the street? You were probably taught these things so long ago, they just seem like second nature to now. But what if you had a few basic tools like that when making money decisions that could feel second nature, that could help you to feel confident? You can. First, you need to check your mindset. Are you beating yourself up for not knowing some financial concepts? If so, why? Who says you should know this? Come on. Were you taught this in school? Most of us were not. So allow yourself some grace before you dive in and strive for a beginner's mindset. Just like that child who was told to hold hands before he crossed the street, let yourself have a beginner's mindset. Don't expect yourself to be an expert right from the start. So ask yourself, what are a few tools that I need to feel confident about making this financial decision? Just ask and see what you think of. No right or wrong answer here. Let's take an example. What about the decision to buy a car? What do you need to know? Well, if you just brainstorm some ideas, you might think, okay, will this fit into my budget? Or how do I know I'm getting a good price? Or how do I protect myself from a scam? Now, if you get stumped, think of what questions a mature but curious child might ask. How does that work type of questions can be super helpful. Then the next step, easier said than done, but it's simply ask them. Ask questions. It's often helpful to start with an online search. For example, with the car purchasing decision, you could search for something like, what's the average price of this car in my zip code? And with today's AI tools, you often get even more info than you might have considered. When I used this search string just now, not only did I get an average price range for a car, I also got a breakdown of the factors that influence the price range and links to websites to do more research, like Kelley Blue Book and Carfax, as well as links to sites to purchase the vehicle, of course. Something else to think about if you're trying to make a purchase decision: reviews. Reviews can be very helpful. Just always consider the source of anything that you read online. Take that into account. You might ask a friend who has made a similar financial decision recently. What factors did they consider which were helpful in making the decision? What factors did they leave out that maybe they wished they had thought about? Do they think that the overall outcome of the decision was positive or negative? And what did they learn? These are all great things that you could discuss with a close friend who knows you well. Let's go back to that question about, well, will this fit into my budget? Again, you could talk to a trusted friend, a partner, an advisor, or if you want to learn yourself, guess what? You can easily learn online. So again, I went back and used the search string. How do I determine how much car I can afford? I was supplied with a detailed breakdown on how to determine my monthly net income and then apply what is called the 10 to 15% rule for a car. Pretty cool. I learned something there. I was also reminded that the total cost of car ownership should be considered, not just the buying price. And then step by step, I was told how to go about figuring out all of that and calculating that piece as well. I was provided with links to online calculators and other online resources. So use online resources to get started with financial questions. You don't need to rely on them solely for advice because, as I said, you have to consider the source. Where is this information coming from? The internet is not the be-all, end-all. There is a lot of junk out there as well. But at least you can get the wheels turning. And then you can reach out to a friend or a trusted advisor, someone who knows your personal situation and has your best interests at heart, to try to refine the questions you should be asking and interpret the data that you are finding. Remember, financial journeys are best traveled with friends. You can do this and you don't have to do it alone. So now that we've addressed some tools that you can use to build financial confidence and lean into learning, I'd like to say a word about self-worth. Many people, not just women and not just a particular demographic, but many people tie their self-worth to their current financial situation or their net worth. And I think that's extremely unfortunate. Your value is not determined by your bank balance. That's why I like to use the term balance sheet instead of net worth statement. It's the same calculation, but it gives it a very different tone and interpretation. A common quality that I've found for successful people is kindness. Look around and into your own neighborhood, into your own life, your friends, people that you know, people that you think are successful. What are their qualities? My suspicion is that the first thing that's going to come up is not going to be that they are billionaires. There are probably other things that you admire about them. So reflect that back to yourself as well and think about qualities that you possess that are admirable and that you'd like to cultivate. Many women especially feel that they need to know everything before acting, but learning by doing can be powerful and effective, especially with money decisions. Confidence comes from knowledge, action, and then resilience, not perfection. You can start small, take action, and then step back and interpret the results. I have a story about this in my book, how one woman that I knew took years to make sure everything in her presentation to her boss was perfect before she went in and asked for a small raise. When she finally did, she was granted the raise almost immediately without hesitation. She was super shocked. So she asked her boss why she hadn't gotten a raise before. And you know what he told her? Because she had never asked about it. So those small steps don't have to be perfect. You just need to take some action and move forward. So how to change your money mindset around self-worth? 3 tips. Education. As they say, knowledge is power. So seek out financial knowledge in podcasts, books, or online courses. Maybe just spend 5 minutes a day reading or listening to something about money. Doesn't have to be a year-long course or a huge commitment. Maybe just something positive, just a few minutes a day to help nudge that money mindset in a positive direction. This also taps into community. Connect with others who are on the same journey. Maybe look for role models, others who share their financial journeys for inspiration. These could be podcasts. These could be friends. Hang out with people that you would like to be like. And then finally, practice. Don't let it just end there. Take some small actions. Maybe you just review your bank statements until you feel really confident that you understand every piece of it. Maybe you set a simple budget and track your progress. Maybe you open a starter investment account with just a few dollars and play around with it a little bit. Be sure to listen to your self-talk as you do any of these small actions, because that's a key piece. If you hear things in your head like, I'm bad with money, I'm stupid, I can't do this, be aware and celebrate the awareness, and then try to replace those with things like, well, I'm learning and growing every day, or I'm learning how to improve my financial situation, or I'm moving forward. Something that gives you a little pat on the back just for taking small action. In closing, remember that confidence is built, not born. It's not something you should just expect yourself to have immediately. Just like that child crossing the street, you need some tools. You need a few practice rounds. You need the help of some friends, perhaps, to feel that you are confident in taking those steps forward. And every step you take, no matter how small, helps to prove to yourself that you are capable and worthy of financial success. You're probably a lot more powerful than you realize. So I like to leave with a few resources for you for further exploration. One is a book that's not new, but I think is very powerful. And I really enjoyed it when I was first exposed to it. It's called Mindset, The New Psychology of Success by Carol S. Dweck. It's an exploration of a growth versus a fixed mindset and how that influences your behavior and your decisions. Really fascinating. And how you can learn to fulfill your potential. I've also been told about a podcast, So Money, with Farnoosh Torabi, which has candid conversations about money, careers, and confidence. And then lastly, we've got a tool here on the screen. Clever Girl Finance offers free courses, articles, and a supportive community for women who are learning about money. 3 things for you to check out depending on your preferred method of learning and digesting information. But overall, I hope this helps you to build your confidence and to switch your money mindset into something that is positive and leaning into abundance.